So the stick figure has just finished drawing in the bomb. Next he's going to grab it and throw it at the hammer as he jumps off the wall. So let's put in a pose where he grabs the bomb out of the air. I'll shift all the body parts forward and put the arm in and move the bomb a little as he makes contact. So now let's make a pose of anticipation as he gets ready to jump. I'm going to redraw the body for this one. Then a pose of him pushing off from the wall. And he's starting to bring the bomb backward behind his head. Actually, I'll have it already behind him at this point. And have his other arm further forward. Actually, let's just shift him outward and have him already pushed off. So it looks like the hammer is going to be too close, so let's push that back. Then we can do a pose with his arm forward for when he throws it. Okay, that's our key poses. Let's put in some in-betweens and see how it looks. Starting back where he grabs the brush, I'm going to use the same technique we've been using. I'll copy this pose and shift everything forward a little. Then copy the pose where he's grabbing the brush and shift everything back to be closer to the previous pose. The only thing I need to redraw is the reaching arm. Then he's got to turn around right away. So I'll copy the grab pose and shift it. Then I need to copy the brush symbol so it's in his hand on this frame. And actually that's the first spot the new brush appears, so now we can delete the brush symbol from this layer. And move the gray background square to this frame. So that's the brush grab taken care of. Now let's add another in-between. On this one, I'm going to redraw the body. Now he crouches, so I'll copy the keyframe and scale the body down. Then we need some in-betweens for the jump itself. So let's do the middle pose where he's on the way up. Then go back and in between the liftoff. Definitely need to do this part on ones since it's so fast. Now an in-between where he makes contact with the wall. Then on these keys it looks like his body doesn't change. We better fix that. On this pose, I'll shift everything up a little bit. And now we can do an in-between and shift everything just a little bit. Now one more in-between as he brings the brush up. Okay, so that gets us to the point where he paints the bomb. Now let's in between what happens when he finishes. Let's move this key to make room and add an in-between here. Shift the body, move the brush, and redraw the arm. Now another in-between as he brings his arm behind him. Then one where he starts to lean forward for the jump. Then an in-between for the reach. Still mostly just shifting things a tiny bit. Now let's in between the crouch. And here I'm going to have to redraw the body. Now an in-between coming off the wall. Let's have the bomb arm come down and swing around back behind him. So on this next in-between, the bomb is behind him. Now we wanted to make it read very clearly that he's going to throw it, so we're going to slow things down a bit here. We can add an extra in-between where he has the bomb up ready to throw it. Okay, some minor adjustments on all these frames. Now we're at the point where he's thrown the bomb. Let's put the bomb on a separate layer. And let's do in-betweens for the throw. He's just starting to bring the bomb forward. Then we can have the bomb fly toward the hammer using a tween, so I'll make a key. Move the bomb where it hits and add a tween. Make it a little faster. Now he needs to fall down, so let's do the key poses for that. Let's do a pose of him down on the ground where he ends up standing. And before that, we need to do his landing pose, so let's make one where he's crouched down. Then we need a pose before that where he's falling. That's a little fast, so let's add some more frames. So before we go further with the stick figure, we'd better get the hammer's animation nailed down so the timing will match up smoothly and realistically. So let's fill in the animation for the hammer. I want to animate the cursor and the hammer at the same time to make sure their timing matches up. Make sure the hammer anchor point is where the cursor is so it rotates around that point. There's this big pause here while he's getting the brush, so in that space, let's have the hammer come up here. It's going to rear back to take an underhand swing at the character. So let's move it to the hit position. Then let's try just adding tweens and see how that looks. For the rear back, we'll do ease in out quad. And for this tween, just ease in. But that feels too slow, so instead of the classic ease in, let's do a much more extreme ease in quint. There, now that feels like it hits harder. And it looks like it hits him, so let's move that last key a frame later. And let's move the hammer over so it's a little deeper in the wall. Later, we're going to add damage to the side of the interface where it gets hit. So next, after that swing and miss, the hammer bounces back over here, tween it, regular ease out. Actually, let's do a cubic ease out. Yeah, that looks better. Then it needs to get in position to wind up for the next swing. Let's put a key here and have the hammerhead drag behind. Now we need the anticipation for the next swing. So let's have it go up just a bit, then back down, and now have the hammer coming up and around. Let's just put the tweens in and see how that looks. It looks alright, but these keys could be moved up. And actually all this can move up. So that gives us plenty of time to work with before he throws it here. This part here is too sluggish, so I'm going to change it back to a quad ease instead of a cubic. Then just shorten it by shifting all this back. Shorten that last part of the swing. Now we need to figure out the easing on all of these. This one's easing out, so we can make this next one an ease in. Then on the final swing up, make it an ease out. So it eases in, then regular, then ease out. Now we need to keep going to the position where the hammer hits the bomb. And actually, why don't we change the bomb so it hits the head of the hammer? We'll need to change the arm so he's aiming higher on his release. Then let's change the swing easing to a classic ease in. No, that's too slow. Let's do an ease in quint. Okay, it stops abruptly, but that's because it's going to get exploded by the bomb at that point. So in the next video, let's animate the explosion of the bomb.